Hi, everyone. My name is Shyla. Welcome to the Shi-Spot once again. This is episode 3. So today's topic is about something that I learned, a terminology I learned as I am kind of living it, so to speak, called crumbing.
Breadcrumbing.
Breadcrumbing. Thank you. I was like, I feel like this doesn't sound right. Breadcrumbing. So I am not married. I am single. No kids or anything like that. I have relationships have never been a strong suit of mine, ever. I always don't pick quite the correct man. I don't date a lot though. That's the thing. I'm not like this big dater. I don't go on websites. You will never see me on Tinder or Bumble or Coffee Meets Bagel or none of that.
Coffee Meets Bagel.
That's where my brother met his now wife, is through Coffee Meets Bagel. And I don't do any of that. And it's not because I think I'm better than it. It's just kind of like, I want to meet my person as I just live life. Like, I don't kind of want to force it. And I have no real desire to sit there and go on these sites and go on 100 dates. And I don't need anybody to buy me dinner. I can cook. Like, there's... So
you want an organic relationship that's founded on something more natural feeling and not just the meat market of looking for somebody.
I do. I just am not a big fan of the online stuff. And I know someone could argue like, oh, you've never tried it and that's how I met my person. That's cool. Like, you really wanted that to happen. But for me, like, I've always kind of placed priority on my career, which is really funny right now because like, I like my career, but I also want to make changes in it. But that's where my brain goes. It just goes towards like, okay, how could I make my career better? How could I make my purpose in life better? I'm very big on trying to find where my dharma is, where my purpose is, and I kind of figured it out in certain ways. Definitely helping people. Like, I have a very strong, just always a strong inner guide to always go towards kind of helping people, making people's lives better. And I think another reason for the podcast is for that. So the breadcrumbing topic came to be because, I started talking to this guy in New York, and, the way we met was super organic. We kind of worked together briefly, and then we kind of started talking and proceeding from there. And the thing is like, this has been going on for like a year. Okay. And he still wants like no commitment. But he told me that, and I told him, listen, I'm not a girl who just does like the side piece stuff, so this may not work for me. And his, reasoning for it is like, listen, I'm getting out of something really bad. I'm trying to gain my own independence. I work all the time. So he's like obsessed with working and has an addiction to working and honest to God, and he's very closed, he's very protective of himself. So it's like, he just gives you enough to like keep you around, to make you think he's interested, but doesn't go above and beyond. He doesn't even go beyond. He doesn't even go above. Like, it's just like, hey, what's up? Good morning.
It's just enough to keep you on the hook.
Yeah, on the hook to think something might grow from this. Okay. In the beginning, I thought nothing of it. And this is my immaturity of relationships. And something that came to me 6 to 8 months in it this year when I'm like, whoa, this kind of relationship is not for me. So I started researching, relationships where, that's where I came across the terminology breadcrumbing. So I started researching, like, what do you do when a guy only texts you? What do you do when a guy, like, when you ask him to do stuff, he never wants to, but when he wants to do stuff, you're always ready to do it because you like never see him. So they know how to space it out in such a way where you crave them, right? Cause it's like, oh, I go like 2 weeks without seeing you. And then all of a sudden you want to see me. I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm totally going to make myself free for you. And so I'm reading all these articles about how to make a guy want you, how to reverse the power role. I swear.
You renew your Cosmopolitan subscription?
No, this is right. I know, right? Did I ever tell you I showed up on Cosmo as what not to do when I fought
Octomom?
When I fought Octomom. Yeah, just as a side note.
You were in Canadian Indian People magazine also.
Was I in Canadian Indian People?
That where you were in?
I was in some. I was in a couple of trades. So years ago when I was in radio, I had to fight the Octomom. I won't get into that story right now. You could always.
There's video on the internet.
There is video. You can always Google it.
I'll share them.
And I'm very embarrassed by it, but at the time it seemed like a good idea. And so here I am fighting Octomom for like a celebrity match. And then one day after it was all over, this girl I went to school with 100 years ago who I've never spoken to, Facebooks me and goes, "Is that you?" And there's this shot of me in Cosmo magazine there's a sexy section and a skanky section, right? Guess who ends up on the skanky section? Shyla ends up on the skanky section about fighting Octomom. And there's this like punch like that either I'm taken and like you see the side of my face, like enough to know it's me if you like knew me. And that was hysterical. It was like, that was me on the skanky section, but I don't know why I'm talking about this. Oh, so he brought up Cosmo magazine, but, so no, I mean, I am not, having Cosmo magazine be my Bible for relationships. However, I have been listening to a lot of like relationship podcasts from like psychologists or from like relationship experts. And interestingly enough, they all say there's like a core 5 principles. A lot of them talk about how to reverse the role of the power. And here's the deal. I don't want to go into any situation at the age of 43, because that's how old I am, thinking everything has to be a power play. But I feel like that's what this dude is doing. Yeah. So in my brain, I'm thinking to myself, yeah, I could do a casual relationship, see what happens. Isn't this what people do? And I feel like you start dating, especially in bigger cities. I found out I am not the exception. This is kind of the majority of how dating is.
I've been starting to see a lot of recent articles and podcasts and segments recently that breadcrumbing it's leading people on. And I mean, that's like the older terminology, I suppose, but it's still the same concept of just giving enough to keep them there.
Right.
And so my perspective on the other side of it.
Go ahead. Okay. So before you get to your perspective, I didn't realize this was breadcrumbing, and you can call me an idiot, which I am. You can call me naive, which I am. You can call me a lot of things, because in reality, if you go into anything like this, like a relationship, and you're not fully certain of what you're looking for, you end up in this world of breadcrumbing. And that's what I learned. Like when I mean breadcrumbing, you'll end up in this world where you're in some weird power struggle, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, with a guy or girl or whoever. And you don't realize like there's all these little power play moves on like how you can want them more, how they can want you more. And when I realized, it's like, oh, so when my phone dings, it's like some dopamine going off in your brain. And that's how you're getting fed. Like, oh my God, he texted. Oh my God, he texted. So that stuff started diminishing after a while, because you're like, okay, nothing's happening from the text messages. So I started learning these little things, and I'm like, oh, I'm learning like I didn't really was clear on what I wanted. See, I would have never ended up where I am now, which is, totally smitten over this guy, not realizing it's probably not going to go anywhere. And it's like, oh my God, how the fuck am I going to get out of this? But I'm like too attached already. So if you know what you want in the beginning, which is, I am looking for somebody who wants something serious. I understand you can't like project these things in the beginning, but that is where I want to end up. And that's not maybe where he wants to end up right now.
And that's what I was thinking. It kind of goes to the lack of communication, right? It's a tough conversation to have sometimes when you're getting into a relationship with somebody, you're getting comfortable, you're learning about them. It's fun. But early, a conversation should be had to avoid the breadcrumbing. Because if he came to you in the beginning and was like, I don't have time for a full-time relationship, that's not what I have, maybe you weren't listening to that.
And I actually should say he did. So when this started, he kind of did say, look, I don't know where this he didn't say it quite like that, but he said, like, I don't know where this is going to go. I'm in a really weird space in my life, like X, Y, and Z, like got out of a bad relationship. I work all the time because this CUNT takes all my money, and I literally work all the time. And I didn't buy it completely. And my other couple guy friends were like, now he's talking to other girls. Like, if there's no clarity on what's going on, then your brain will make up what, like you'll just go to places where are really dark. And that's what was happening to me for a good portion of the year. Like just killing myself over what's really happening when I don't hear from him. I'm like, who is he really spending his time with? And he could argue the fact that he was, well, Shyla, I'm working, or Shyla, I have my kids, but like, there is such a lack of, I over communicate, and there's such a lack of communication from his part. And then my one guy friend, Ricky, was like, Shyla, I'm going to tell you something. Less is more. It's part of the breadcrumbing. So when I don't tell you fully everything, you're always left wondering. And I thought to myself, man, this is like so annoying, because at what point do you just want me and I just want you and it's cool? And we're going to make, we're either going to give a shot at this or we're not going to make a shot at this. So it's like, how long do these power plays work? So I want to say back in July, I think June, July, I started to get really irritated. I'm like, I don't think this is for me. So I would throw out there, look, and I would never be real confrontational. It was only recently I'd get like real angry, because like I would say, look, I don't think I'm interested in you. I don't think your interest level is the same, and it's cool. Just let me know so I can move on. That's not true, Shyla. Okay. Well, like, why aren't you kind of making some time for me? Why is it always on your terms? And that's another thing with the breadcrumbing. It's always on his terms.
So I think there's a part of this though too, that the breadcrumbing is not all in the person doing it though, because you're allowing it to happen.
Agreed. 100%.
And I think this comes to a term that we use a lot between the two of us that I think we're probably going to hear a lot, is about being the son.
Yeah.
You're allowing him to start controlling your day-to-day activities instead of saying, you're just letting me fit in your life. No, fuck you. It's my life too. I'm important. I'm the son, but you're letting that go. So you're falling into that trap.
Exactly. And that was another big realization I had, not just with him, but what I was doing in a lot of not only relationships, but like friendships, whatever. I would just kind of absorb other people's bullshit. Like, if I needed to feel, this is what I thought, I needed to feel useful in your life. Just being me, just being Shyla wasn't good enough in my brain. I had to show you that I can help you fix your life, Dan. I could be the shoulder for you to cry on. I cook, I clean, I do this, I do that. Look at how useful, look at how purposeful I am in your life. And I always thought that was the way to go. And I realized, no, you're just giving a ton of energy. And it was so funny because he took me out for my birthday, and we have great conversations, when we do kind of actually conversate. And he had said to me something like, Shyla, guys really don't care if you're saving the world, if you're Mother Teresa. You could impress us 15 different ways. It doesn't matter. If we want you, we want you. If we don't, we don't. And it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, really? So it's like, oh, all this stuff I've been doing, not that I was purposely doing it for you to get to like me. It is kind of who I am already. Like, I do take care. I have that kind of like
nurturing. Yeah.
I do nurture. I like to cook. If I cook, I like to feed you. You know what I mean? Like, it's for me to remove that part is actually, you're just changing my personal dynamic. And there are women who aren't really into that. And then the more women I would talk to, it would be like, no, Shyla, no, they got to do it. See, a lot of women in my life take it to a way other extreme, right? They're like, no, you go out there, you find another guy, then you tell him, you make him jealous. He has to know he's losing you. I do agree. People don't know your value until you're not there anymore, or until like they're in the fringe of like, oh shit.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, she's going to be the son now. Like, yeah. Oh, I'm losing her. It's
getting cold over here.
Yeah. You're right. Exactly. Right. Like but in my brain, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that to somebody that seems so like shitty. It seems shitty to kind of try and find somebody else so the way I've operated in the past, once I feel like there's nothing left to give in this, or I'm like done with you, like I'm done. Like you'll know it, but I can't force my doneness. I can't force my, oh my God, that's it.
I never liked the idea of trying to show somebody up though, to get them back.
And, like, give me an example.
Like what you're saying, they're like trying to make them jealous of being like, oh, I'm going to go see somebody, and then they're going to see how important I am, and like, valuable, and now you miss me. Because it just brings it back onto another level of like, oh, well, you just did this through jealousy now.
Yeah. So does a guy?
So you're not bringing them back through like a good way of being like, oh no, we reconnected and like we talked and like we had a great time. Instead, you're trying to show them up.
Yeah, and I wonder if guys know when women are trying but not trying to, I don't know, state their point. Like, this dude's no idiot. Okay, he is not an idiot. He's a very smart man, and so I called him out several times. We've had kind of several disputes of me finally stating like, look, this is what I'm looking for. I'm like, I understand this is not what you're looking for. But then, and then he clarified, like, but Shai, you know, like, you're my best friend. And he'll pull me back that way.
Yeah.
Or he'll say, like, I really just, and that you won't hear from him for a week. But that's only because I told him I didn't want to talk to him. Like, that was talk to him. The Scranton accent.
That was great.
So I don't want to talk to him. And then he'll be like, you know, and be like, okay, fine. And he'll never deny his shitty behavior. He won't deny it, which is kind of refreshing. But but a week later, he'll be like, Shai, all I do is work and I miss you. And that's that little breadcrumb. And that'll somehow I'm like, all right. You know,
that's not an untrue fact though either.
Okay.
He could be working a lot and he could be missing you while he's working.
Yeah.
But he's consciously making the non-effort to try to now fit you in or to make sure that like to grow your relationship because he doesn't, not that he doesn't want it, but maybe he just doesn't recognize that. Or he knows that he doesn't have the time for it.
So my question is this. Does a guy lead you on to the point that he's hoping it changes into something? Or does the girl eventually need to kind of go, no, I can't do this anymore. Either you try this the way it kind of should be kind of tried. And I am not a woman who asks for much. And maybe I should be. Maybe I should be more demanding. I find it so interesting. I have another friend in New York and she's a cool chick. We're not close, but we'll exchange stories and she's dating this like super hot dude. Like he's not for me, but cause he's like kind of a box of rocks, but he's like super hot. Like I can't do the super hot, but you're a box of rocks, right? You know, that only goes so far. And so he's kind of a box of rocks a little bit, but he's super hot. She's like average. Okay. Average, but is a very New York chick demanding of, oh, I told him this is the way you didn't show up at the party. Like, I'm really upset with you. You didn't do this. I expect you to do. And he's at her beck and call. And I'm like, I don't get it, man. She's average at best. She doesn't really have a real career. She's clearly like, I don't want to say gold digger, but you know, expects to do a lot.
But I think maybe between the two of them, and that's kind of what you're missing with your relationship, is that maybe their energies or expectation levels, she set forth that like, this is how it goes. And he's okay with it and they're okay. As to where you guys are like, you're like, I want our relationship to grow. And he's like, I can't do that.
But I don't want you to leave my life either.
But like, I like having
you around. I want you, but I don't want you.
But I don't want you the way as much as you want to do it. But like, I can meet you halfway.
What? Don't they feel bad? Doesn't the guy at some part in their subconscious level, do they go, I know what I'm doing isn't right. Do they then justify it? Like, I know they have moments of clarity because I know he's had moments of clarity where you went, yeah, I feel like a piece of shit that I'm kind of doing this to her. I can't do this to her. So maybe he'll be like, maybe he'll back away.
Sure. If it's a respectable person, I will say that they probably struggle with it. And it is not easy all the time because it's also like, I have to have a hard conversation with this person. Like, they clearly want this and I don't want that. How do I tell this person that I enjoy spending time with that? Like, look, it can't be that much though.
Right. And I always have the hard conversations with him. If you ask him, he would just be like, it would just be the way it is.
Sure. Keep riding that wave.
Till eternity. Yeah. Right. And I don't know how much someone, again, it goes back to either friendship or relationship. Someone will, for lack of a better term, take advantage of you, take you for granted until at some point you go, yeah, I'm giving a lot of energy and I'm not receiving it. And I also had this weird mentality, and this is where the philosophy kind of stepped in, where I'm like, I'll just give the love. I'll just give the kindness. And I don't want to give it to expect something in return. And I think I've kind of misconstrued the philosophy because I was talking with my philosophical like counselor, my my spiritual guru or whatever. I study Vedanta on the side. And if you want, you can look it up. You'll see what it is. But he had said to me, he goes, Shyla, you're missing the key essential factor. I'm like, what's that? He's like, see, you're not actually giving love the way you want to think you are. You're not actually giving it purity. If you are, you wouldn't be as conflicted as you are. If you were giving it just to give it, you would not be conflicted. It would just be, you would be the sun giving it. You wouldn't feel that need to receive. You're not waiting to receive it back. That's really not 90% of humans out there. I mean, you got to be like literally like a monk or a saint or something, right? He's like, what you're missing that philosophy and spirituality talk about is your core needs, which we've done a podcast about. And if your need is to be in a relationship where two people are giving and it's not being returned, you're not going to be vengeful. You're not going to be manipulative. You're not going to be gaslighting. You're not going to play the role of someone who's hurt. What you're just going to do is let them know and then step out. So what a lot of people will do is they start with the power plays. They'll start with the game playing to try to get the upper hand. And that never felt right with me. And every time I attempted to try to do it, he'd call me out. Like immediately, like, what is this, a game? I'm like, no, you think life's a game. You have actually told me life's a game. And then I've said to him, I'm so sorry that whatever women in your past have played these games with you. I am so sorry that you got into certain relationships.
Sure, that's a whole nother podcast. We can do just on people and their baggage and like how much bullshit you can take from somebody's life to mesh into your own world to see.
Yeah.
How much of your bullshit can I carry in this relationship?
And I always carried everyone else's bullshit because I always thought I am so strong enough I could take it. But it's like the reality is no, because yes, I have dealt with my own personal baggage, which is why I could take risks in relationships, understand if they don't work and walk away, somewhat not damaged, but maybe sad, frustrated, disappointed, but then kind of always have that viewpoint of, okay, I gave it what I could give it. If I fucked up, I got to make sure I apologize. If I did something that they didn't like, I want to make sure we have clarity. But if it's not there, I guess I have to accept what it is. But I don't want to give them unresolved BS that I have not resolved. And what I think he's in a state of like, I know I have this baggage, but I don't think I've ever taken the time to really resolve it. I have covered it up with working. I've covered up with this. Therefore, he's breadcrumbing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, therefore, I'm only getting like a quarter or a half of who he is, not the full version of it.
If he resolved his other problems, he would then have time to actually be in this relationship and give it the time that you would require for it to work.
Yeah. The other school of thought is if someone is breadcrumbing, they're just not interested and they're waiting around. They're just keeping you on the side because you give them their dopamine effect. You give them their boost of ego because they know how much you like them. Sure. Daniel, do I know somebody like this who's currently doing this?
I mean, that's a common topic of, yes.
Yeah. So that's like a core of what a lot of the breadcrumbing is. It's, I am feeding your ego in some way. I'm making you feel really good about yourself. And you need that because you probably feel really shitty inside somewhere. You could project confident, like a fake confidence. You could project arrogance. The one thing I was always really good at is, that core intuition. Like I could tell when somebody's really like confident or just projecting something. And ironically enough, when I first met him, I didn't really care for him because I thought he was too arrogant. I'm like, yeah, no, that doesn't work for me. Like you're cute and all, like you're a good looking guy, but like that's not going to work. But when I got to know him, I realized no, like that's not really who he is, but he will project that. And a lot of my mind goes to, well, he is a good looking guy. Maybe he needs an ego boost from several different women. Maybe he's talking to several different women. When there's no clarity, there's breadcrumbing. When there's protectiveness, there's breadcrumbing. Why are we not being honest about this is what I'm doing? This is what I'm doing with you. Why I could never, my conscience would never allow me to talk to you, Dan. Let's say we were like kind of dating and we were also hooking up and be talking to like several other dudes, even if I wasn't hooking up with them. I couldn't do that. That would bother me. Does it not bother other people? Do you just think that like the world, you're the center of the fucking universe and like, oh, everybody's your chess piece? You know, don't you think that karma is going to come back to you at some point? You would never stay in it if you didn't have hope. The day I wake up and go, there is zero hope to this is the day when I actually move on, not fake move on. That's like when I become the sun again. I guess at the end of the day, ladies, ladies, let me throw it out there. Have you been breadcrumbed? See, that old radio crap comes right back where I have to throw like.
But that's unfortunately it's tried and true and it works.
Have you been breadcrumbed?
Send us your pen. We'll talk about your business.
Right, exactly. Yeah, and like, what did you do? Actually, I would love to hear stories of how women finally, what did they do to get out of a situation or make a man see clarity? Because every time I Google ladies situations on breadcrumbing, ladies story, like nothing comes up. Like Reddit, it's like weird. I don't know.
It's
like,
happening. It is happening everywhere.
Yeah, and the only thing you'll get two sets of answers. You got to leave because they don't love you. You got to go because it comes back to a lot of that. But anyway.
I want to hear how people have been breadcrumbed. I want to hear the techniques and like what they're doing to do it.
Yeah. And men, why the fuck do you do it? Like, do you not have a conscience?
Oh, we don't.
Pick a lane, bro. Pick a fucking lane. Just pick a lane. All right. This is the Shi-Spot. Thanks for tuning in. Episode 3. I hope you enjoyed it. And I will talk to you next time.